Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We're here live at the Campus for All Animals, the Houston SPCA, and I am so excited to have you guys with us here today. We have a wonderful friend that's waiting for her forever home. She is a wonderful dog named Zoey. Zoey, come here, girl. Come here and say hi to the people. Well, she's saying hi. She's saying hi. Zoey is such a cute dog. She came to us from a family that just didn't have enough time for her right now, but she's so cute. She's very good with kids, actually. She's a critter camp favorite. The critter campers love her, and she's a great dog. And so come visit Zoey and come visit our campus this weekend. Find that dog, cat, puppy, kitten, or maybe even farm animal that you've been waiting for. And if you're planning to come visit us, I have the information for you today. What we're going to do today is talk about how you want to prepare to bring a new pet into your home. It can be a lot. It can be very overwhelming to bring a pet into your home. You're all excited about it. But if it's your first time, you might be thinking, what do I need to prepare? How do I get ready for my new pet that's coming into my home? Whether it's a puppy or kitten, or maybe an adult animal, or maybe even a geriatric animal. We have lots of golden paws animals available, those pets that are over 7. How do you prepare your home for that? So start thinking about questions. I'm happy to answer them, and just put them in the comments and we'll get right to them. The first thing that I would suggest is if you are preparing to bring a new pet and you have children, and even if you don't have children, let's make this a family affair. Let's gather around at the couch or the kitchen table and start making a plan for your new pet. For example, what kind of pet do you want? How much time do you have available to spend with your pet? Do you want an adult? Do you want a puppy or a kitten? Start ironing out those little details. Start thinking about whether you want a male or female, or whether you don't care at all. Start looking around your home and trying to figure out what things you need to make a pet's life comfortable. And that's what I'm going to help you guys with today. So let me know if you have any questions about anything. Any questions to start with?
Yes. So Stacy wants to know about adopting a senior pet. How different is that as compared to like a middle-aged or puppy? Obviously, there's changes.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for considering the senior pets. They oftentimes get forgotten because we're always used to adopting a new pet. We think of a puppy or kitten, but there's lots of senior pets that need wonderful homes as well. If you're adopting a senior pet, either a dog or a cat, one thing that you could probably be sure of is that exercise and kind of their needs for living. They may not need a lot of exercise. So what you want to do is plan to get them on a routine. You want to get them used to waking up at the time that is appropriate for your schedule, going to the restroom outside, or if it's a cat, using the litter box, acclimating them to their environment. You want to make sure that you have them on an appropriate diet for a senior pet. A diet is very important, but if we have senior pets who are not quite as active, you want to make sure that you're thinking about diet for them. What kind of diet is going to be most appropriate that's not going to make them gain weight, and that's going to keep their joints very healthy? That's going to be important for a senior pet. And for senior pets, it's also a great idea if you have other pets that you know whether or not that senior pet gets along with other pets as well. So lots of things to consider, but overall, they tend to require less exercise, less caloric dense type foods, and they're going to need a lot of time to just relax and be couch potatoes with you.
So Kristen wants to know, what about fostering once she's already adopted and she has a pet in her home? Is there anything she needs to do special if she's going to start bringing animals in temporarily as fostering?
Great question. I would say if you have just adopted a pet, let's first of all get a good handle about how your new pet has adapted to his or her environment. So before we introduce new animals, I would make sure that you've gotten everything straight, that your pet has a routine, that your pet is on a good diet, that he or she is healthy. Maybe you've done short introductions with other pets, maybe your family or friends, you've done short little introductions, and you know whether or not your pet gets along with other animals. If you do not know and you need to work on introducing a pet, I would do it very gradually. So we can start with dogs. Let's say you have a dog and you want to introduce a new dog. It might be a good idea for you to have someone to help you, a family member or a friend, and introduce the dogs in neutral territory. Sometimes your current household pet could potentially be somewhat protective of their environment, of their bed, of their food bowl, of their crate, their housing. And so introducing them to a new pet may be better done in a neutral environment, outside of the home, outdoors, maybe in a park, maybe at the animal shelter when you're bringing in the new pet. These might be good interactions to determine how they're going to get along before you bring the new pet into your home. If it's a cat, same thing. Do it very slowly. It might be a good idea for cats to use the introduction of the two cats with the help of Feel Away. Feel Away is a pheromone, like a hormone that helps the cats feel calm. And sometimes that can just help increase the positive energy in the room for those cats to get along. But I would do cats very slowly as well. What other questions can I help you with?
So Kristen had a follow-up question on how can we balance if you've got one pet who's not active and you've got one super active and you're introducing the active pet into your home. How do you learn to balance that energy level?
Yes, that can be very difficult. So again, if you have help, if you have family members or someone who can help you, that'd be great. But maybe if you have someone who's more active in the home, getting your active dog out to do more exercise, to go on long walks or run or participate in a hobby. Maybe they want to do agility. Maybe they want to do swimming. Make sure that you can meet the needs of the active pet, but still meet the needs of your senior pet that doesn't require as much exercise. It's also important. Let's say if you have a senior pet and that pet has arthritis or some sort of condition that could be associated with a senior pet, you don't want the two to make a bad mix in which the active pet could potentially harm your senior pet. So you want to make sure that you exercise them separately if possible, or give your active pet more exercise before and after you exercise your senior pet. Sometimes just letting them out in the yard and letting your active pet run around and do zoomies can potentially help get rid of some of that energy. And your senior pet may be relaxing on the patio. But yeah, it's going to take a little bit of finagling, but you can make it work.
Jacqueline had a question about if you do adopt a pet, do you think it's more difficult to just train the dog by him or herself? Or does it help to already have another pet in the home that's trained that can do they influence the other dog? Do they help teach the other dog?
Sure. Especially if you have a pet in the home who does well with other pets. I think it's great for pets of the same species to kind of train each other. Certainly if you have an adult dog who kind of knows the routine and you have a puppy, your adult dog can help to train the new puppy on what the routine is. When do we get up? When do we eat? Where do we go to the bathroom? What should we chew on or not? Sometimes these adult dogs can do a really good job at raising their little brothers or sisters and helping them acclimate to the environment even better. So if you know that your pet gets along with other dogs or cats, it's a great opportunity to use them to your advantage. So as we are talking about what things you need to prepare, make sure that you prepare things like if you have getting a new dog, maybe a crate. It might be a good idea to purchase a crate that's appropriate for the size of the pet that you're bringing into the home, because initially you may not want to leave your new pet out in the home and have full access to your house. You may want to be able to crate them while you're away. So that's something to consider. It's also something to consider that in that crate or in the environment that you want to have things to keep their minds very busy. And so we've talked about these on some of our previous shows, but having treats available for when Kongs or toys where you can hide treats in there, and it can be mental stimulation while you're away and can kind of keep them calm while you're away. So you have those. There's also a toy, our favorite toy here, the snuffle mat, where you can put treats inside the snuffle mat and it can keep them busy for many minutes at a time. They can root around in here, find treats, really good mental stimulation. So that's helpful. For cats, the same thing. Toys, cat toys. You can also make sure that you purchase a cat tree. You can see one behind me here, cat tree, or maybe a small one that can be in a separate room. And that's going to provide enrichment for your cat as well. A scratching post, toys to play with, because those are good things to have on hand when you're bringing a new pet into the environment.
So Jacqueline wants to know, she knows that her neighbor has a cat and she's thinking about getting one. So what is the deal with the scratching post? I mean, you see the cats scratching, but like really, what is that about?
Yes. So cats love to mark their territory. And part of scratching on furniture, scratching on the bedspread, scratching on your curtains, but hopefully scratching on a scratching post is really to help them to mark their territory. It also helps subsequently to dull their nails so that they aren't quite as sharp. So having one of these can actually help them not scratch up your furniture and your curtains. This is a good place for them to focus that scratching nature. And so having one of these is very handy, particularly if you have a multi-tiered one like I have behind me. Cats love to be in high places. So a multi-tiered one will serve multiple purposes, not only scratching, but also giving them the ability to be in high places where cats love to be. They love to look out over their environment. And so this one is a great tool.
So Robbie wants to know, is nail caps okay for your cat?
Sure, absolutely. You're talking about these little fun colored caps that you can place over the toenails of cats to prevent them from damaging your furniture quite as much. So if they have sharp nails, you can put these little colorful nail caps on, and they have a rounded tip, so they're not quite as sharp. So when your cat is doing the scratching motion, it may not do as much damage to your furniture. You will have to have these reapplied. Sometimes you can do it yourself if your cat allows it, but going to a groomer or a veterinary facility, they can put those caps on. As your cat's nails grow out, those caps could fall off and you might have to reapply them. But it's certainly good to try. They're called soft paws, and it's certainly good to try right at the beginning when you're trying to figure out your cat's habits.
So Julian wants to know, when you first adopt a pet, like how do you determine and comfort a pet who has separation anxiety? What are the signs, and how do you know it's happening if you're not there?
Sure. If you have gotten a new pet and you don't know whether or not that pet has separation anxiety, one of the things that you might notice is they will try to get that nervous energy out in sometimes destructive ways. So I would say, if at all you can, in the initial phases, keep your pet in an enclosed area. That could be a bedroom, that could be a bathroom, that could be a crate that's appropriate for him or her. Give them plenty of toys. And I would say just leave for short periods of time. For the first, couple of days or maybe even weeks, don't leave for 8 or 9 hours at a time. Maybe do short trips away, like to the grocery store or the gas station for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then when you come back, you might be able to tell if there's been any destruction. Does your pet look anxious? Are they hypersalivating? Are they panting? Did they have accidents in the crate or in the room? Sometimes those would be signs that while you're away that they were stressed out. Another very handy tool is, if you can't have visual eyes on your pet physically, get a pet camera. There's so many different pet cameras out there that you can use, that you can set up in your home, and you can watch. You can see what your pet's doing while you're away. That's really the best way to do it. Get a pet camera and short excursions so that you can tell whether or not your pet is developing anxiety.
So Todd wants to kind of tag on to that conversation about the crate and separation anxiety. They have a similar problem, but they put their older dog in the crate with their dog, and that calmed him down instantly. Is it safe as long as you have the space? Is that a good idea?
If you have the space and both dogs are okay with it, I think it's a great idea. Sometimes an older, seasoned, more mature, calm pet, that energy can really help the more anxious pet to settle down. So I absolutely think that's a great idea. As long as you have observed their behavior together, you know that it's a good situation, that they're doing good for each other. Perfect idea.
Here's a good question. We've been hearing Zoey. She either wants attention, like what do people do when they do have a new pet and the dog is barking and it's like a newborn baby? You're like, I don't know what you want. How do you handle that? Because a lot of people go, my dog won't stop barking.
Yes. And a lot of it is just trial and error, right? There's no 100% guidebook, right? Make sure that their basic needs are met. Do they need to go to the restroom? Are they hungry? Do they need water? Do they just want to go outside and exercise a little bit? Do they want attention? Sometimes it is just trial and error and time. You may not know right away what that particular bark means, or what that face means, or what that whine means. It's going to take some time for you to understand that pet and what he or she wants. So trial and error, make sure their basic needs are met, and it will all work out.
Well, I've got a question. Is it okay if you have several dogs in your home and one dog seems to be dominant over the other adopted dogs, and they kind of like stand by their food bowls? Should you be involved in that, or you let them work that out?
That's a great question. So you may have a pet that is displaying early signs of food aggression, or at least guarding. You don't want that to escalate. So I would say be present so that you know how the dogs are going to behave. You want to be present for those first feedings. And I would recommend feeding them separately initially, maybe not very close together, in different areas of the same room, and try to determine how they're going to react with each other. And that way you can prevent any dangerous things from happening. You don't want anyone to get hurt. Be present, feed them separately, give them different bowls in different areas so that they don't feel the need to resource guard.
So Mark says he may be coming up to our campus this weekend and adopting a cat. So how much time? I know we all like to think there's going to be that magic moment when you connect with an animal, and sometimes that happens. But how much time do we need to give a newly adopted pet time to adapt to a home?
Absolutely. So long term, we say 3 months. By 3 months, both you and your new pet have adapted well to the environment. Their behavior, their personality is at its fullest. And that's when you really know kind of how your pet has settled in. In the first 3 days, the pet is just getting used to you and the new environment. They have not come out of their shell fully. They are not fully comfortable. And so those first 3 days, we really want you to practice patience and just getting your pet, showing your pet love, starting that routine, giving your pet that routine. And then after 3 days, we have another kind of time marker, and that's 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, you should start to notice that your pet is starting to learn your routine. You may start to see more of their behavior come out. You also may notice that this is when you notice some problems, that they may not be getting along with another pet, or maybe they're displaying some separation anxiety. The 3-week mark is another good way to kind of determine how well they're adapting. But really, it isn't until 3 months when you know really well how they're going to settle into the environment. So please be patient with your pet and give them all the basic necessities, spend time with them, and we are certain that you're going to have a wonderful pet to spend forever with you.
So Maddie wants to know, Dr. Westbrook, as a veterinarian, what are some things that I need to look for? What questions should I ask when I am looking for a veterinarian?
Oh, that's a great question. What's important to you? You can even think about what's important to you from a human perspective when you go see a doctor. So you can ask. Word of mouth can be very beneficial. If you have family members or friends who love their veterinarian, trust their veterinarian, that might be a good place to start. You can consider things that are important to you. Is it close to you that your veterinarian is in close proximity to where you live? Maybe that's important to you, maybe not. Is it important to you that your veterinarian practice alternative methods and holistic medicine, or are you okay with Western medicine? It's a good idea for you to kind of think about how you want to approach your pet's healthcare as you are looking for a veterinarian. What kind of hospital are you looking for? Do you want to have a one-stop shop? Maybe you want a veterinary clinic that does not only medicine, but grooming and boarding, because maybe you know that you're going to need your pet groomed and boarded regularly and you want to just go to the same place. That might be something to consider. But if maybe grooming isn't important to you, or you don't plan on boarding your pet, maybe that doesn't matter as much. So think about your needs and what you think your pet needs, and then you can start from there. But obviously, feel free to call the veterinary clinic, ask them to speak to a veterinarian about establishing a relationship and doing somewhat of an interview and see if you guys are on the same page about how to approach your pet's care.
When adopting a cat or a kitten, is two better than one? Do they like company?
We would always say, how are we ever going to say that it's better to have less pets? You're asking the wrong people here. We are all going to say
so true. All
more pets. So in general, I think it's great to have more than one cat, because oftentimes, again, the companionship, particularly if you're not going to be at home with them, that companionship can really help them out. So cats are okay being alone. Certainly cats are typically solitary and they can be on their own, but particularly if you have to, sometimes they can be really good support for each other. You just want to make sure, again, that the cats are getting along well, that you have methods to give them each their own space if necessary, cat trees, hiding spaces, different litter boxes, different areas to eat. Those things can actually help cats be happier in environments if they have their own space and they can get away from the other pet if they're not, if they're not into being around another pet for the moment.
We got one last question. So Joe was wondering how you introduce your pet to the neighbor's dogs as you're out walking. Like, what's etiquette?
Yes, that's a great question. So if you're introducing your pet to the neighbor's pet, make sure they're both on leashes, that you both have your pets under great control. Might be a good idea to talk to your neighbor about whether they know if their dog is also interested in meeting other dogs. So you want to make sure that both pets are interested in this. But if you're just trying to introduce them, make sure they're on leashes. Make sure you're in a neutral environment. So maybe not in someone's living room, for example. Go out on a walk together. Starting just by walking together is good, because when you're walking your pet, they have focus. They're walking, they're getting their exercise, and it can actually help prevent some of that energy going toward each other. Let's put that energy into an activity together, like walking or playing fetch. And let's do an introduction like that includes some activity.
Awesome. So what about the rule for puppies and dog parks?
Yes. So you want to make sure you do not take your puppy to the dog park until they are fully vaccinated. So talk to your veterinarian about when the last recommended vaccination has been given and how long after that vaccination that they feel like it's safe for you to take your pet to the dog park where there's been lots of other pets. You definitely want to be safe. And certainly when you get a new pet, you don't want to have to deal with illnesses if we can possibly prevent it.
I think we're good. We're coming up on 1 o'clock. If there's some other things that you want to share before we go, Dr. Westbrook.
Well, we're glad to have you again. I have lots of things here for you guys to consider getting if you're getting a new pet. Don't forget that crate. Don't forget a leash, a properly fitting collar, a food bowl. Make sure you have food and water bowls. Make sure you have a nice bed for them and some toys to keep them busy. But we're here to help you. If you need any guidance at all, don't hesitate to ask us questions. We're here to help you. We want you to have a great experience with your new pet. Come on down and visit us. If you're interested in helping out by fostering helps us to save lives. So consider joining our foster families. It helps us to save lives every single day. We can't wait to see you. Come on down to our Campus for All Animals, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Westbrook. Good to have you.